Prime Minister calls for more dialogue with partners. Police Commissioner in Hagen to assist inquiry. And NAQIA destroys illegal goods.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Tuesday's news. The national government wants more dialogue between development partners to improve service delivery. Today at the 8th National Development Forum, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the current policies will set the foundation to influence and direct the path PNG can follow to improve people's lives. PM O'Neill said despite the negative impressions on the position of the economy, there is room for improvement.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill arrived at the Holiday Inn Ballroom this morning to kickstart the three-day development forum. Speaking at the forum, the Prime Minister maintained that the government will allocate funding and other necessities to achieve its development agenda. However, current policies need a broader perspective from development partners to achieve development goals.
Just to remind our good partners that we inherited a government that had a huge policy vacuum, lack of development agenda, lack of plans that will move our country forward. And as a result of that, we made a deliberate promise to our nation.
Chairman of the CIMC Secretariat and National Planning Minister Charles Abel said this year's forum will focus on the output of national policies implemented by the O'Neill Dion government. He says this will help shape current policies, define development and improve service delivery.
We must come back to our people and tell them, we've created a resource envelope, we've created a planning framework, now what are the outcomes? What were the intended outcomes in the MGDP and what are the actual outcomes? And so we're working very hard with the support again of many of our development partners.
This year's theme is showcasing achievements and fulfilling development aspirations to improve service delivery through strategic partnership. Day one discussions were based on topics of economic updates, accountability reforms, transport and infrastructure, agriculture and land reforms.
But I think that Papua New Guinea has got better opportunity today than we inherited in 2011. A better, brighter future ahead of itself. I know that our children will be happy when we leave a better Papua New Guinea for them.
Key outcomes of the forum will be compiled by the CIMC Secretariat and presented to the National Executive Council by Minister Abel. The forum will end on Thursday. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Chief Secretary to Government Isaac Lupari has called on public servants to change their attitudes. He said one of the major problems in the public service is the attitude towards work. Secretary Lupari said this has a significant impact on service delivery and implementation of government policies in vital areas such as health, education and empowerment of our people.
Chief Secretary Lupari called for a change of attitude when addressing staff of the National Department of Health in Port Moresby recently. He said people are seeing services for the first time in years because the government is providing money annually and empowering people through SMEs, the DSIP and PSIP. He said more can be achieved with all these investments if public servants can change their attitudes and take responsibility.
By definition, as public servants, we are the servant of our people. And I think some of us often forget that. And I think that's a challenge for Papua New Guineans, is to, in public servants, to think and change that mindset that we are here together as Papua New Guineans. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to come and do it for us.
He pointed out that today's public service is too big and everyone is working in isolation from each other. There is no coordination and communication, and everyone is territorial and have don't care attitudes.
I think connectivity, communication and coordination is very important for us. If we're going to be a team that's going to drive change in this country for ourselves.
Secretary for Health Pasco Kase said it was revealed during the midterm review of the new National Health Plan that the National Department of Health is due to be reorganized to be on par with policy directions.
We should and we would call for your assistance to get us to government to have a review of the structure of the department, so that the structure that is put in place is meeting the policy directions of the National Health Plan.
Chief Secretary Lupari said the government is doing its share by providing money in the national budget every year for free education, free health services, hospitals, colleges and universities. He said public servants must also do their bit by having a more efficient work attitude for a better future for our children. Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
In the meantime, Secretary for Health Pasco Kase informed Chief Secretary Isaac Lupari that major hospitals around the country are facing medicine shortage. Mr. Kase said this is attributed to outstanding debts of 40 to 50 million kina. He said Vulupindi has been notified, but the department is still awaiting funds to be released to settle these bills.
At the moment, we are facing some challenges where some essential medicines are running short in some of our major hospitals, and that's quite a challenge to us as a department. So we are trying to manage that, and that leads me to our challenges that we face, especially the funding flow for medicines, that currently we would be up to about 40 or 50 million kina in debts, and owing to our suppliers and distributors of medicines in the country, which notification have been delivered to Vulupindi House for funding to be released so that we can pay for these outstanding bills.
One more body has been recovered in the lower Watut, bringing the number of deaths in Sunday night's floods to 5. The Watut local level government president Waka Diamond said the body was recovered early today, while one of the missing persons was found alive. The 4 bodies were found yesterday were brought to Engau Hospital in Leh late last night by road. The latest body found has been airlifted to Leh. The tragedy has shaken the Pararoa village community, as all of the dead are from one family. Leh police have shot a man in one of his legs after he and 2 others were intercepted by police during a robbery. The 2 other suspects escaped. Leh Metropolitan Commander Chief Superintendent Anthony Wagambi says police believe that the suspect who was shot had served time at the Buyepi jail in Southern Highlands for rape and attempted murder.
This is the shop located along the speedway opposite Limki settlement. On Friday between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., 3 men armed with a homemade gun and knives tried to rob the shop's employees. Police were informed and went to the location. 2 of the armed men escaped while the other was shot. A homemade gun and ammunition were recovered by police. Commander Wagambi said the suspect is also wanted for questioning in relation to a murder of a high school student in Leh about 2 years ago. The Criminal Investigation Division are now working on the case to confirm the allegations. He will be arrested and charged after getting medical treatment from Engau Hospital. The identities of the other 2 suspects are known to police. The Leh Metropolitan Commander has repeated his warning to the public that police will come down hard on those involved in criminal activities. So far, police have demonstrated that they are able to respond swiftly to public complaints. Police have confirmed that 6 suspects were shot on Friday night in 2 separate incidents. The attempted armed robbery at Limki and the armed hold-up of a motor vehicle belonging to a senior public servant in Leh. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Leh.
A group of men were apprehended by Port Moresby police as suspects in a sorcery killing yesterday. It is alleged that the group killed 2 men who they believe were practicing sorcery at Badili. Following a tip-off, police went to the scene and caught the suspects as they were about to bury the two deceased. In another sorcery-related incident, one man was apprehended after he tried to kill another man who he said was practicing sorcery at 9 Mile. All accused are now in police custody.
Yesterday, a number of suspects, about a group of people were arrested. So the homicide detectives will go through those that were involved, and then they will arrest them. There were some very old men and young men. They were brought in. Some they call themselves glassman, and they were brought in yesterday. The two deceased were wrapped up. They're trying to take them away and burn them somewhere, but lucky the other relatives won bodily police, so all the units went down there and surrounded the place and arrested a number of them.
You're with Tuesday's news. Police investigators upskilled on human trafficking and how to prosecute them in court. That story and more after the break. Welcome back. Police Commissioner Gary Baki today appeared in person at Mount Hagen National Court to assist a commission of inquiry into the Bun's police cell. He was summoned by the chair of the commission and resident judge, Justice Godwin Poole, to provide facts relating to the condemnation of the Bun's cell block. Baki told the commission that he is aware of the Bun's situation.
Commissioner Baki admitted in the inquiry that the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary haven't done much to change the status of Ban cell block after it was condemned in 2002. He said there were plans to relocate Ban cell, but nothing was done. Baki said the constabulary prioritizes projects depending on the availability of funding. Each year, our PNGC receives 10 to 15 million kina funding for basic maintenance for the country.
I think it's important to know that the inquiry will assist. The outcome of it will have some impact on what we want to do in reforming our policies and procedures in terms of dealing with people when we put them into the cell. So I'm happy that I'm here and I'm able to answer questions that have been asked.
The commissioner was told in the inquiry today that Ban's cell block is not up to standard. There are no books of records and important files and data are not recorded. There are also no ammunition registry and no records have been kept. Baki responded that RPNGC is responsible, but the situation shows the inability of funding. The commissioner assured the inquiry that before 2017 national election, the constabulary will beef up and restore all the communication systems in the country. He said all the police stations in the country are facing the same problem as Ban cell. Vasenata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Police investigators are undergoing a workshop aimed at identifying human trafficking cases in Papua New Guinea and how to prosecute the matter in court. The 3-day workshop is being facilitated by the International Organization for Migration, or IMO, and involves over 15 investigators. The workshop follows the increase in abuse of human rights cases in the country.
The participants include officers from the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate, prosecutors from Boroko Command and Criminal Investigation Division. The workshop aims to enhance the officers' understanding on how to detect, assess and prosecute human trafficking cases and the safe return of the victims.
Basically for the human trafficking and human smuggling. Two different subjects. When I first came in, I thought that both refers to the same thing, but in actual fact they are two totally different things.
Human trafficking is the forceful transportation of a person to another place for another person's benefit. It can occur domestically or internationally. Research conducted by the UN agencies reveals that over 12 million people have been traded across international borders for cheap labor or forced prostitution. 80% of these victims are women and children.
Though it is not common in PNG, there are reports of human trafficking and people smuggling. Reports produced by provincial administrations from Western and West Sepik suggest that the lack of border patrols by government agencies is allowing transnational crimes to occur.
For my case as an investigator, it's basically assisting us is to look into areas of where we should be getting elements to prove the offense itself and how we should be presenting it to our prosecutors to later on present it in court.
The workshop hopes to assist investigators, identify elements of human trafficking, and guide prosecutors to convict the accused in a court of law. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The World Health Organization today officially handed over 2 new vehicles to the National Department of Health in support of SIRAP, the Special Integrated Routine EPI Immunization Strengthening Program. WHO PNG Representative Peter Van Maren, prior to the presentation, said although there has been significant progress in the number of children immunized through the program, the organization wants to save more children's lives.
According to the World Health Organization, 1 in every 13 children in Papua New Guinea dies from common childhood illnesses. This puts PNG among the 6 high-priority countries flagged by the WHO as needing urgent and immediate improvement. So far, almost 40% of our children are still not fully immunized.
Sometimes parents and caregivers are just not aware of the benefits and safety of vaccines or where to access immunization services. Lack of funding to conduct regular mobile and outreach services to rural areas is one of the problems. Inconsistent supervision and monitoring of health facilities in their work and unavailability of the cold chain supply, the vaccines and logistics in the health facilities where these children are supposed to get their vaccinations.
WHO hoped that the vehicles would address some of these issues. Health Secretary Pascal Kase said the statistics in this day and age were disappointing because it can be avoided and that the presentation of the vehicles was timely in NDOH's commitment to improve child immunization in PNG.
Our immunization rates in Papua New Guinea are not too good, and it's been struggling for some time. But we hope that with this assistance, that the program at the national level will pick up, especially for supervision and program coordination and logistic support to the provinces.
The World Health Organization also urged Papua New Guineans not to see child illness and death as a norm.
It is not. Immunization for all children is our goal, and together with our stakeholders, our partners and the Department of Health and you, media, we can save the children in Papua New Guinea.
Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
The National Agriculture and Quarantine Inspection Authority, or NAQIA, today destroyed unclaimed and undeclared goods. NAQIA's Assistant General Manager Operations, Warrior Orapa, said all goods were from the Motukea container yard located just outside Port Moresby.
The goods included cartons of frozen chicken and meat slices, canned goods, rice and other food. NAQIA's Assistant General Manager Operations, Warrior Orapa, said the goods had high biosecurity risks associated with them and could be dangerous to human health, and that may also bring in pests and diseases to the country's agricultural sector.
In PNG, we have laws that govern rules on how we, what kind of goods come into the country. Some of this stuff, most of the produce that we bring into the country, plant and animal origin, have to be screened by NAQIA for potential risks. And a lot of the goods that we detained because they don't follow those regulations that we have.
He said goods that enter the country with proper import permits and clearances are inspected and released, but those that are brought in by people who don't follow PNG regulations are detained.
If the owners come and say, oh no, it's expensive, we'll take it back, send it back where it came from, then we'll send it back to where it came from. But when they just abandon it and run away, we have to, destroy it like this.
Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
A prominent legal lands advisor in East New Britain province says customary landowners will lose more land if they don't plan how their land will be used. John Gesling, a land court magistrate, says 80% of land in the province is still undeveloped and landowners must register it to maintain their ownership title. This follows recent arguments between landowners regarding oil palm and logging in the province, spurred by land law reforms over the years. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
East New Britain province is made up of more than 1,500 hectares of landmass. More than half of that is owned by traditional landowners. In recent years, according to researchers, the land and the forests that sits on it are slowly disappearing as developments are slowly making inroads into what was initially a wild and untouched environment. Unofficial estimates suggest that land in the province is being used up mostly by oil palm development and logging. Much of the blame has been laid against numerous land reforms, such as the Special Agriculture Business Lease or SABL, that have put some foreign investors at a greater advantage over traditional landowners. John Gesling is a prominent land legal advisor in the New Guinea Islands region. He has been encouraging local landowners to retain and register their land that have been acquired through illegal and corrupt means.
Right now, the people of the nation and individually, we have the right to safeguard those resources, those whatsoever that has been built starting from the land with our life, because they must be here for the generations also to benefit from.
In recent years, the growth in oil palm development and logging in the province has increased significantly. That, on the other hand, it had spurred disagreements between landowners. Arguments over land ownership have created controversies over who is the rightful custodian that has the authority to invite foreign developers to develop their customary land.
The constitution is there to guarantee the rights of the landowners of the nation, and it declares about the real essence of justice.
Until recently, the land laws have attracted political attentions that will see the land laws revised and the controversial SABL abolished. Now, while that is expected to happen, there are still clouds of uncertainties if that will help solve land issues within different factions of a tribal clan, as most of their arguments regarding land issues are customary and deeply rooted. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina opened unchanged at $0.3155 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3080, $0.4005 Australian dollars, $0.2768 euro, and 31.61 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, and copra closed higher, while cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil and crude oil closed higher, while copper closed the day unchanged. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 39.44 points higher, the ASX is trading at 7.3 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 45.3 points lower. You're with the news. After the break, we look at successes in cancer awareness and more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The Central Province Data Collection Workshop at Babaka Village ended successfully over the weekend. Participants were taught how to conduct data surveys in their respective district and ward for planning and development purposes. Eric Harukma with this report.
After 2 days of workshop by facilitators from the Department of Community Development and the National Disaster Center, participants were favored by the OS community. The workshop gave participants an insight into the data collection exercise that is designed to be implemented by the 4 districts of Central Province.
Training is to sensitize the officers so that once we get back to the districts, we should include them, or it's a must that we include them in our annual activity plans.
It was funded by the European Union through the National Disaster Center at the cost of 350 million euros, close to 860 million kina. Coordinator Lavai Vele said this funding was purposely for disaster management to help people living with disabilities during times of natural disasters.
Disaster being focused and Central Province being selected as a model to collect data and also have it focused as disaster. Data will also be extracted in the sense that when there is a disaster struck, the disabled are actually also considered. And
Lead agency Community Development initiated this program as part of the Disabled Person Organization to advocate on their rights.
That's why we're trying to use this as the pilot, and we decided to have it at a village setting. So we're realistic about our planning.
At least a component of that for education, especially, it has to go for inclusive education. Children who are disabled have to have access to education, or in terms of health, or in terms of sports.
In recent surveys of 21 wards, 606 persons living with disabilities were identified, many of whom suffered from conditions related to lifestyle diseases. Disabled Persons Organization Southern Region Chairperson Mary Ikupu said this is a breakthrough for them after many challenges.
We are always confined to the houses and we don't have access to information. So whatever the little information that was given when we were exposed, we tried our best.
Through public-private partnerships, churches will also be utilized to carry out the data collection exercise.
More research on what the church is doing and could draw up a better program for government to use the church, because most disabilities in the communities as rural communities are known by the church.
Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Health screening is important for detection of health indicators that can save lives. This is the message from the PNG Cancer Foundation, who has been conducting their cancer awareness workshops around the country. PNG Cancer Foundation Marketing and Fundraising Manager Hayley Chown says they have been very successful with their workshops for 2016.
As part of the Pinktober month, PNG Cancer Foundation has continued its efforts in spreading awareness of breast and cervical cancers. A one-day workshop held yesterday highlighted the importance of early screening for breast and cervical cancer for the working population. As well as awareness, it also taught them how to perform self-breast examinations.
Okay, for breast cancer, you can breast cancer usually occurs in women above the age of 40 and above. However, lately, nowadays, you see women below the age of 40 coming in with signs and symptoms of breast cancer. So during the presentation I gave, I talked about how you do a self-breast exam. So that is a simple way of you do a self-breast exam every day, and you can find, if you find anything out of the ordinary, you can go and get yourself examined.
The PNG Cancer Foundation is encouraging women to get tested for human papillomavirus or HPV, which is the main cause for cervical cancer when left untreated.
The cervix is on the inside, so in order to find out if anything is going on there, you have to go and get yourself checked, a pap smear or a visual inspection with acetic acid or VIA. So usually we encourage women at the age of 18 and above to go for regular pap smear checks. So this is like 2-year interval. Every 2 years you go and get yourself checked.
The PNG Cancer Foundation has conducted 42 workshops this year, with this being the last for Pinktober. They have also wrapped up their provincial workshops for 2016, while the Pink Ribbon Brunch will be held next week Friday.
It's our Pink Ribbon Brunch. It's one of our most popular events in the campaign's calendar for PNG Cancer Foundation. We're expecting around 220 to 250 people to attend. It's going to be held at Laguna Hotel next Friday, on the 28th from 9 till 11.
Meanwhile, next month will be their final campaign, Mouse Christ Campaign, which will be Men's Cancer Awareness Month. Merlin Diaukatam, National, MTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Church Partnership Program launched a new disaster manual today. It comes after the church's response to last year's El Nino weather patterns that caused severe droughts across the country. The disaster manual was compiled by former Department of Agriculture Secretary Matthew Kanua. Bethany Herman with this report.
When disasters strike in Papua New Guinea, before the government can help, the first people to be on the ground are churches. Usually one of the 7 mainline churches can be found in the districts. But for many years there hasn't been a blueprint to help churches carry out relief work during disasters.
We have not institutionalized the learnings of the way the government planned and carried out the disaster assessment and the relief work in 1997-98. That's nearly 20 years ago. When this drought came around in 2015 and 2016, really there was nothing to fall back on in terms of real documentation as to how you go about doing these things. So,
Disaster assessor Matthew Kanua says much of the work done by churches through disasters like the 1997 El Nino and the more recent droughts last year was done without a plan. But now there is a manual formulated and it's available for the churches.
The manual brings together the experiences of the Church Partnership Program disaster relief program in 2015, but also captures important learnings from the 1997-98 drought. The purpose of this book is to leave behind something so that it helps guide people in the future how to conduct disaster assessments. It's really important.
Disasters will always hit this country, whether it be a tsunami, volcanic eruption or flood. The people will need help from the churches like Catholic, Lutheran, Anglican, United, Seventh-day Adventists, Baptists, and the Salvation Army. After today's launching, these churches will have a manual to guide them. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Leh.
Manos Governor Charlie Benjamin says more work is needed to renovate schools in Manos. Governor Benjamin said allocating funding through the Education Department have been taken for granted with less attention to maintain learning facilities. He made this statement while attending the opening of a teacher's house at Buyang Primary School.
In a recent visit to Buyang village on the mainland of Manos province, Governor Charlie Benjamin saw the declining state of classrooms and other learning facilities. His visit with members of the Manos education sector was to witness the opening of a teacher's house. Speaking to students, teachers and the local community, Governor Benjamin called for levels of government to maintain and improve current learning facilities.
Has ting emlo make so all mangi play mas kisim good pla lining. All teachers play me where possible. All must stop good pla house.
Buyang Primary School is one school that is steadily growing but needs support to cater for increasing enrollments. The level of education achievement is above average, but Manos Executive Education Manager says a better approach by parents is needed in guiding their children to achieve better results.
You must ask him picking in his son. That you go to school and you make him on him. You line him on him. Check him book long. We take it for granted that this play and work for picking in must work in this play work. That is wrong.
The new teacher's house is a recent development for the school. Governor Benjamin committed 100,000 kina to help build other infrastructures for the school.
True.
Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
Here with National MTV News, we have the latest in security operations toward the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup and more in Trukai Sports when we come back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Close to 200 women police officers will be participating in the Under-20 Women's World Cup security operations. A three-day workshop commenced yesterday at the Laguna Hotel, where 51 police women who have been assigned as team security liaison officers to the 16 participating teams.
Local Organizing Committee Secretary Manager Hetahu Lohia said the workshop is to familiarize the women with their roles and responsibilities during the tournament. They will be working closely with team liaison officers because they will be with the teams throughout the tournament. Similar to the Tri-Nation tournament, each team will be allocated 2 to 3 team security liaison officers and team liaison officers who will be attached with the teams for the duration of the tournament.
The workshop gives them an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have about the tournament itself, but it also gives us an opportunity to prepare them in terms of giving them an idea of what their roles will be, what their responsibilities will be, and also how they should interact or communicate with the team management.
Police Commissioner Gary Bucky, in opening the workshop, congratulated officers who were selected to be team liaison officers and said the principal security for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup lies entirely on the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary women.
We also have women officers have been appointed as venue commanders, particularly in accommodations where the teams will be staying, and they will be also assisted by their male colleagues as venue commanders. And I think sometimes next week there is a short workshop for the venue commanders as well too. So I'm happy.
Beside the team security liaison officers, 130 women police officers will be flown into Port Moresby to commence security operations at the end of the month. Commissioner Bucky encouraged the female officers to be ambassadors for both PNG and Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, and what they do now will have a reflection of how they will prepare for a much bigger task in the Apex Summit 2018.
Our police women to be at the forefront. So that's why we will be deploying a big number of women police for this. Our women police have always participated in other major operations, but not to the extent where they are particularly women taking a leading role. We've actually gone into an advanced stage of planning for APEC as well too, and this is a stepping stone for us to look at how we can refine our preparations for APEC as well too. The challenge of security in FIFA would be entirely different from APEC, but it gives us an idea of in terms of what is the demand in terms of security for international people coming in.
The Security Operations Order has input from the National Intelligence Office and other security partners to ensure the safety and security of the fans, international media and teams that will be in Port Moresby during the 3-week tournament. The first phase of the 3-phase operation commences at the end of the month. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
Fiji, Tonga and Samoa pulled out of the Women's Rugby League World Cup qualifying tournament last weekend. The 4 countries were given just a few weeks to assemble teams for the playoffs, which resulted in teams withdrawing. Tonga, Samoa and Fiji pulled out, leaving no games, and Cook Islands likely qualifying as a result by default. 6 teams, Papua New Guinea, Australia, New Zealand, England, Canada and Cook Islands will now participate in the historic Women's Rugby League World Cup 2017. As part of the 20 days human rights activism and a lead-up to the 2016 FIFA Women's Under-20 Soccer World Cup next month, FHI 360 hosted a one-day training for 800 youths who will be volunteers during the World Cup. The one-day training focused on understanding violence against women, effects of violence, running in conjunction with FIFA's tagline for the Under-20 Women's World Cup, and violence.
This training is in line with the FIFA Games theme of ending violence. FHI 360 as an organisation has been working in the area of ending gender-based violence, particularly among women and girls.
So the message resonates with what FIFA is trying to pass. That's ending violence. So that's how it matches and it aligns with the FIFA message.
FHI 360 also focuses on health systems strengthening by supporting Go PNG in development of SOPs, training of healthcare workers for TB, HIV and STI areas.
They will have their family, they will have their teammates. They should pass the information about gender-based violence, the impact of gender-based violence, and where the services are for gender-based violence, and so that people can get those services as soon as possible, especially for rape.
This is also in line with the concept of gender-based violence, and it is one in line with the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup's theme of the opportunity to empower women and women in football. The large number of attendees at the event will also be participating at November's World Cup and will be using that chance to deliver these messages as well. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
The third day of the Intercontinental Cup saw the Barramundis all out for 189 after 56 overs. Meanwhile, Namibia is still lurking behind with 4 over 39 after 14 overs soon after tea.
The Barramundis continue the fine starting form with Vani Vagi Mores stamped for a team-high 67 as the home side had a healthy 7,420. John Bogareva hit 30 more runs on top as Willie Gavera was stamped for only 7. Although the Barramundis by then had a commanding 354 before the break, the Namibians off to the worst possible start, losing the entire top order in only 2 overs. It was 4 for 14 by the 4th over as Namibia showed no signs of running down PNG's high target. The day's progressive score for the Namibians is now at 8 for 95 runs. Dini Rose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
You're with Trukai Sports. We'll have sporting news making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In world football, Maradona took center stage last Wednesday as global soccer legends took part in an inter-religious match for peace hosted by Pope Francis in Rome, Italy. The Argentinians' blue team suffered a narrow 4-3 defeat to a white team including Ronaldinho, Gianluca Zambrotta and Frederic Canute. However, the peaceful occasion was lost on the stroke of halftime when Maradona came together with his countryman Juan Sebastian Veron. Maradona had to be restrained while he left the pitch as the pair traded heated words on their way to the tunnel. Fiji and Pacific sprint sensation Banuve Tabakaukoro has attracted the attention of Australian rugby league clubs, including the Melbourne Rebels Super Rugby team. However, he has put on hold all these rugby offers to focus on his ultimate goal of representing the Fiji Sevens team.
Tabakaukoro, who grabbed center attraction in his recent Australian rugby tour, displaying lightning speed, helped his newly formed Silver Waters team to reach 2 cup finals in Sydney and Melbourne respectively. The fastest man in the Pacific is working hard to transform his athletic success to the rugby paddock. At 24, Tabakaukoro is determined to lift his game, and his goal is to secure a spot in the national sevens team. The speedster has been in talks with some of the Melbourne Rebels officials present at the tournament. Silverwater's Sevens coach James Hamaguchi said the speed merchant would be an asset to Fiji rugby. Hamaguchi added that Tabakaukoro performed extremely well in his first rugby tournament and would become one of the best wingers in the near future. Banuva scored 6 tries in his first tournament and exceeded his coach expectations. Meanwhile, Tabakau Koro is aiming to be the future Olympian, and he believes with proper guidance and training, he will certainly fulfill his goal. Tabakau Koro has won many gold medals for Fiji on the tracks, and he is confident of repeating the same in the rugby field. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
That's a wrap for Trukai Sports. We'll have your weather details for the next 24 hours after these messages.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow: in the southern region, partly cloudy with chances of afternoon showers in Port Moresby, rain showers or 2 in Daru, partly cloudy with chances of light rain in Kerma, mostly fine in Alotau, and cloudy periods in Popondetta. In the Moresby region, cloudy with chances of afternoon showers in Ley, a shower or 2 with thunderstorms in Medang, few showers with thunderstorms in Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, few showers with thunderstorms in Lorengau, mostly fine in Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, cloudy periods with chances of light rain in Kimbe and fine weather in Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy periods with chances of light rain in Mount Hagen, cloudy periods with chances of afternoon rain in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Now recapping our main stories for tonight. Prime Minister calls for more dialogue with partners. Police Commissioner in Hagen to assist inquiry. And NAQIA destroys illegal goods. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Helen Seah. Pleasant viewing. Good night.